For decades, entrepreneurs have been stuck in this really frustrating trap, waiting for months just to get paid for work they've already done. But what if a new B2B marketplace could finally break that chain? Today, we're going to dive into Southwest Pass Gateway, a system that's designed to completely change the game for business-to-business commerce and unlock cash flow like never before.
Okay, for anyone who's ever run a business, this question, it probably hits a little too close to home, right? You do great work, you send out that invoice, and then the waiting game begins. And that gap, the space between doing the work and actually seeing the money in your bank account, it's more than just stressful. It's a fundamental barrier that literally stops small businesses from being able to grow.
So this diagram here, it just perfectly illustrates what the source material calls the trap. See, on the left, you got all this potential, a small business connected to a bigger supply chain. But that whole connection is being choked by a 90-day payment term. What that means is, even a successful company, one that's super busy, is constantly running on fumes, completely cash poor, with its own money tied up and just out of reach. It stalls out their ability to invest and to grow.
All right, so let's dig into why this happens, because it's not just some bad habit, right? It's what the source calls structural friction that's baked right into the way the current B2B market works.
And here's the thing, it's not a one-sided problem at all. For sellers, the pain is super obvious, these huge cash flow gaps that just hamstring your growth and access to capital. But what's interesting is, the friction is there for the buyers too. Think about it, large companies have this massive administrative burden trying to pre-qualify and manage tons and tons of small vendors. The whole system is just bogged down by inefficiency on both sides of the deal.
And that leads to this really crucial point. Look, we've poured billions into broadband infrastructure, giving businesses an internet connection. But just because you're connected doesn't mean you can actually participate in the economy. If the financial plumbing itself is clogged up, just having an internet connection, it doesn't really solve the core problem, does it?
Okay, so if the old way is totally broken, what's the fix? Well, this is where Southwest Pass Gateway comes into the picture, and it's offering a direct solution to this trap that's existed for way too long.
Just look at this. The difference is absolutely night and day. On the left, you've got the old way. It's this tangled mess of overhead and individual contracts that just stretches payments out forever, to 90 days. And then on the right, you see the Southwest Pass Gateway model. It completely replaces that complexity with a single shared infrastructure, a streamlined ecosystem that collapses both the cost and, most importantly, the time.
So what is this thing, really? How do you even describe it? Well, this slide gives us the perfect analogy. Think of it like this. It combines the fulfillment power you get with Amazon with the super user-friendly interface of a B2B Shopify. But here's the secret sauce, the third piece, built-in factoring. That's just a fancy way of saying you get paid immediately on your invoices, minus a tiny fee. This whole marketplace is built from the ground up to solve that one big payment problem.
3. Just 3. That's the magic number here. You know that crippling 60, even 90-day wait we've been talking about this whole time? Southwest Pass Gateway is designed to crush it down to just 3 days. Just stop and imagine for a second what that does for a small business. Getting paid in 3 days? That's not just a small improvement. It's a fundamental shift in how fast your capital moves, and it changes absolutely everything.
But wait a second, how is that even possible? I know, it sounds almost too good to be true. So let's peel back the layers here and really look at the mechanics that make this whole 3-day payment cycle a reality.
Okay, so the process, they call it the velocity layer, and it's actually beautifully simple. First, an order gets placed on the marketplace. Simple enough. Then the system automatically verifies that the product or service has actually been delivered. Third, that verification acts as a trigger for the payment engine, which is called PayNetQ. And finally, boom, the funds are released. It's a clean, automated 4-step process that gets the entire cycle done in just 3 days.
Okay, so what's stopping someone from gaming this system? What makes it secure? Well, the whole thing is built on what's called distributed ledger technology, or DLT. Probably the easiest way to think about it is like a shared digital record book. Once a transaction is written down, like product delivered, it's locked in. It cannot be changed by anyone. What you end up with is this unbreakable, totally trustworthy record that lets both the buyer and the financing system release money with absolute confidence.
Now look, the tech is one thing, but trust is a whole other ballgame. Anybody can claim their system works. So how do you actually prove it? This is where the model gets really, really clever by adding something it calls the university trust layer.
Okay, take a look at this flow. All that transactional data from the marketplace. It's not just sitting in a database. It gets fed into this super sophisticated AI model that was developed and accredited by a top-tier research university. And the output? A reliable, defensible trust score.
The key here is that this isn't some private company grading its own homework, right? This is independent, high-level, institutional research that's providing the verification.
And we're not talking about just any academic partnership here. The University of Louisiana Lafayette is a designated R1 research institution. As you can see, that classification puts them in the absolute top tier of research universities. We're talking the same league as Harvard, Duke, and Princeton. This isn't just a rubber stamp, it's validation from one of the country's most elite research powerhouses.
So, when you start putting all these pieces together, you've got the marketplace, the super fast payments, the DLT security, and that university trust layer, you start to realize this is about way more than just one transaction. This is about building the actual infrastructure for a whole new economy.
And honestly, this slide just says it all. The whole idea behind Southwest Pass Gateway is to convert access, things like that broadband infrastructure we talked about, into real, tangible assets in the form of small business growth. By solving that core cash flow problem, the goal is to truly revitalize rural economies and empower local, tribal, and veteran-owned businesses to compete on a totally level playing field. So, what happens when you bring all of this together? An efficient B2B marketplace, technology that's secure and totally transparent, and the undeniable trust of a top-tier research university. You get a model that has the potential to fundamentally rewire B2B commerce. It really leaves us with this one big, powerful question. Are we witnessing the beginning of the end for the cash flow problems that have held entrepreneurs back for generations?